Hi, I'm Tim Roble, and today I'd like to share a question that I heard the other day on YouTube. Gary Vaynerchuk show asked the question, what's the #1 thing you do better than anybody else in the world? And I said, wow, there's a lot of things that I do very, very well, and I don't know if I do any of them better than anybody else in the world. So I got to thinking, well, auto restoration is where I make the bulk of my money. I'm very good at shaping metal, English wheel, planishing hammer, shrinker stretcher, bead roller. I can just about make any panel or any shape on a vehicle or that needs to be made. So I'm very passionate about metal, but I'm not super passionate about cutting out rusty panels and making new panels for cars. I guess what I do the best and what I'm super passionate about is motorcycles and developing motorcycles. That gets me out of bed every day. And so I said, what's the #1 thing you built on a motorcycle that's probably better than anybody else? I said, wow, my skid plate line is probably the best. Nothing else really exists like it. So I thought I would share my experience with skid plates. I've been riding for 43 years, and I've always bought, up until 2012, an aftermarket skid plate to bolt on my motorcycle. And I was lucky enough to get into the inaugural King of the Motos Extreme Enduro event out here in Johnson Valley in 2012. So I did just that. I went down and I bought a skid plate. I bolted it on from a well-known manufacturer at about a $100 price point. I raced the race. I came back. I put the bike on the jig, and I went to change oil to take the plate down, and I noticed that I had 3 cracks in the plate. And I had stretched that plate 1.5 inches. I must have hit every single rock on the race course, which I'm sure I did. So that being said, I said, you know what, I'll recycle this plate, and let me sit down with a clean sheet of paper and I'll develop a skid plate, the best skid plate that I can build for my bike. I want to protect my investment. So sat down with a clean sheet of paper and I said, okay, first thing is that other skid plate must have been made out of a 5 series aluminum. Very ductile, not super tough. So me, coming out of the aircraft industry. I was in the Air Force for 22 years as an aircraft inspector, and then I went to Metals Technology Shop and I was an aircraft machinist welder for the last part of my career. And with that, metallurgy was something that I worked with every single day, so I understand metal and materials. And I said, you know what, when you're going to design your skid plate, aircraft aluminum, let's do it a 6061 T6. Let's make that bottom plate 250 thousandths thick, 1/4 inch. Let's make the side plates 190 thousandths to cover and armor everything up. And with that, Armored Up became the brand name for the skid plate. With designing and being able to have my own creativity, I was able to put things in it that I couldn't find in other places. So 1/4 inch bottom plate. I want lightning holes in it that channels water away from the rear wheel. If you get rock, stone, mud, anything, it evacuates all that out, dumps it out, so you're not carrying around the extra weight. But it does it in such a way that it doesn't put it on the back wheel. It channels out and away from that. I want a very slim design. I just want it to cover the frame rails and then come up and then flare out to cover the clutch cover. #1 thing you see when somebody dumps a bike over in the rocks is that clutch cover gets dinked with the brake pedal and it puts a hole in it. If you don't notice it, then your clutch oil drains out and you no longer have a clutch. If you're on a 4-stroke that's relying upon that for engine oil, if you miss that, you're going to seize the bike up. So that's an important part. Let's cover the water pump, let's cover the clutch cover, let's cover the stator cover. So that kind of brings me to this plate here, which was my original prototype. I've been running for 2 years, and I even never got along to finishing and putting the stator cover on it. What it does is it comes up, it channels the water, it's tough, and it comes down and it cradles the 2-stroke pipe. This is made for the XCW, the 250-300 XCW line. I'm on my original skid plate and my original pipe for 2 years. I should say original aftermarket pipe. I purchased and built this around the FMF Gnarly. The pipe and the plate work as one unit just to keep everything rigid and keep from bending. And believe me, it's not that I'm just so super talented that I never hit anything. I go out and hit every rock. Matter of fact, in Endurocross, I look for my aluminum streaks because I know that's my line through the rock section. So I build a very tough skid plate. I did not build this plate for mass production, and that's why price point on my plate usually starts right around the $300 marker. And it's high, and I'll tell you why. It's the quality materials that I use. It's not cheap stuff. I weld it both inside and out, not with a 40-43 rod. I weld it with a 53-56, which is actually a tougher rod. It's a higher PSI, and it actually holds up better in the rocks. So I build my stuff to live in the rocks. I do it for not only the two-stroke, I also build a plate for the 450, 525 combination bikes, the RFS bikes. I build a skid plate oil tank for the 950 Super Enduro, and I build a plate for the KTM 500 EXC and the XCW line, and soon to come is going to be the 350 EXC and XCW line. So just wanted to do a brief overview to tell you why my plates are a little bit more expensive. They're labor intensive to build, and I'm just trying to make my price point and make it profitable for me to continue bringing you the skid plates that you want and you can't find somewhere else. So anyway, I thought I would give you that question as I leave. What's the number one thing that you do better than anybody else in the world, and what are you passionate about? Feel free to hit like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this, and feel free to leave your comments of a direction where you would like to go down in the comments, and maybe we can all grow through this process together. That being said, I'm Tim Roble, and I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you here next time.